got to our last week about the church this week. So I thought we'd go back and see what we've been doing before we launch into our last week's subject. Here we go with a wrap.
So the first was the church, how it came together. Then we learnt a verse that will stay with us forever. The second was the church united, an example, the family of God, Christ's body, Spirit's temple. Then we learnt we get in through Jesus, who died on the cross, then rose up to save us. The fourth was our book, The Church Has to Grow, telling each other that all the world may know. Baptism came next, it is Jesus' gift, dying to self and rising up to live. Communion, yo, the bread and the cup. Victory, said Jesus, you all are coming up, and now we are here, can't keep the message in. The good news of Jesus through all the world must ring. After Jesus died and rose again, he appeared to his disciples and he explained to them the good news, that their sins were forgiven and that they could live forever with God. Jesus told his disciples that he wanted them to share this good news with everyone, everywhere. And Jesus promised he would send them the Holy Spirit to help them with this job. 40 days later, the Holy Spirit came upon the disciples with power, and they began to tell everyone, everywhere, the good news about Jesus. On the day the Holy Spirit first came, many people heard the good news. They believed that Jesus had saved them, and they wanted to follow him. As the disciples told more and more people about Jesus, God's church grew. They began calling themselves Christians, because they believed in Jesus. People outside of the church started seeing something different about the people of the church. They saw them love one another. They saw them share with one another, so no one was in need. They saw them care for the sick. They saw them give money to help the poor. When people saw how Christians loved God and loved one another, and even loved people that were not part of the church, they were curious to learn more about Jesus. And the church was delighted to share the good news of God loving and saving his people through his Son, Jesus Christ. As the church shared the good news, more and more and more people became believers. Jesus gives us the same job he gave the early church. We are to love others by serving them and tell them the good news about Jesus. We must go out of the church to do this. We go out of the church building to love and serve God by loving and serving our neighbours. And the best way to love others is to tell them all about Jesus and what he's done for us, so that they can become part of God's family too.